special session by Outlook Money where we will talk about a path towards a happy retirement. Now, retirement, as we all know, is not just an extended break from work, it is also about creating a significant and economically viable life for our future. As we see the economical conditions around us change and the increase in life expectancy in the recent times, our personal objectives have also taken a shift. So, to keep pace with that, we also need to plan our retirement in a logical way. To discuss with that in further details, we have with us Mr. Girish Ajgaonkar, the Chief Operating Officer of Happyness Factory, and who will take us through this process to understand about this transition in a very easy or very simple manner. So, welcome, sir, and thank you so much
Thank
for being
you.
here.
Thank you to the Outlook Group and thank you, Priyanka, for having me here.
Thank you so much, sir. So today we'll be talking about the path to a happy retirement. So how one should go about their planning and how one should get themselves ready for this big transition, as it is not an event. It is a process. It is a marathon. It's not a sprint, so to speak. So for this discussion, my first question is, how has the definition of retirement evolved throughout the years? Is the retirement delayed on economic basis or maybe for individual reasons?
Yeah. So I think the concept of retirement goes all the way back to the 1800s. If we start there, that in Germany, Bismarck actually instituted forced retirement for people over 70. And he termed it as disability, right? So there was a benefit given to those people and it was termed as disability benefit. Similar thinking existed even in the US in the 1900s, where the prevalent thinking was that a worker can do his or her best work between 25 and 40. Beyond 40, they need to be tolerated. And then 40, beyond 60, they're useless, right? So that's where the whole concept of retirement started. We obviously come a long way since then. There are a couple of shifts that have happened in the industry. Number one is the organizations and the employers. At one point, when the concept of retirement started, the onus was on them to make sure that the employees were taken care of in the retirement phase, right? So through pensions. That pendulum has now switched to the individuals. And the individual now is responsible for taking care of his or her retirement. And the organization is saying that, look, I will put the money, provided you actually put the money to take care of your retirement, right? The attitude towards people who are retiring or people in their 60s have also changed. Even now, there is age discrimination across the globe, right? But people and organizations are more aware that workers beyond 60, 65, they've got something more to offer based on their rich experience. So there is more openness to that. As far as the consumer or the individual is concerned, even there is a shift in the perspective. And if I think about my father, who started working at the age of 18 at a bank, and he retired at 60, and then there was no questions asked, right? He said, 60, I'm done. I'll do whatever it takes.
Right.
People from my generation are thinking about it slightly differently. They're saying, okay, at 60, I still have a lot to offer. Is there something else that I can do with my time, which is meaningful for both of us, right? The organization as well as us. So that has been the evolution of retirement. It's happening. It's still at a nascent stages. There is a long way to go in terms of this thinking becoming more mainstream. But that's where we are.
Absolutely so. So when I talk to people who are nearing their retirement, so to speak, the retirement age, when I ask them like, what is your retirement plan or how are you planning to retire? Most of them have said that I don't want to retire at all.
Yeah.
I just want to keep working so that I can give something back to the society and also my family at the same time.
Absolutely.
Okay, so my second question is, what are the most important reasons for retirement? Is it financial independence, health, work-life balance, or any other thing?
Yeah. So based on, when you speak with, we've got about 11,000 odd investors. A big chunk of them are in their pre-retirement stage, right? Maybe 55 to 60. Plus, we've invested who retired. If you survey them based on the inputs that they've given, I think there are 3 or 4 buckets as to why people retire. Number one is they just can't keep up with the rat race. Right?
Right.
It's just too intense. There's a lot of pressure and they are just tired, burnt out.
Exhaustion, yeah.
Exhaustion, exactly. Right. That's one segment. The other segment is like it's not making what I do is not making sense, right? And I'm bored. I want to do something different, more challenging. That's another segment. Third one is, of course, unfortunately, because of the health reasons. People can't keep pace due to health reason or health issues with what they've been asked to do.
Hmm.
And there is another segment that says that I want to do something more meaningful with my time. I want to, as you were saying, Priyanka, I want to be able to contribute in a more meaningful manner to the not just to the organization, but to a broader society.
Right.
So these are like 4 or 5 buckets that generally people say that they want to retire in.
Exactly. So, what are some of the greatest challenges regarding the retirement? So, I mean, maybe there are financial challenges, maybe there are
Yes.
non-financial challenges, which every retirees they must have to deal with. And
Yes.
is if that's so, if there are challenges present, how should one prepare to meet them and tackle them?
Yes, yes, absolutely. So let's talk about non-financial challenges first, and then we'll come to financial challenges. I feel like in the dialogue around retirement, it always starts with money.
Hmm.
And I think we need to flip it. I think we need to first deal with the non-financial aspects of retirement, and then money needs to facilitate the non-financial aspects. So I'll talk about non-financial aspects first.
All right.
You see, the in the current context where people are living longer, right? An average age has gone up. So there
Hmm.
is longevity. All of us are going to live longer compared to our prior generation, on average. It is illogical to say that I'm going to stop doing everything that I was doing at 60, and then next 30, 40 years, I'm just not going to do anything, or I'm not going to have any thinking around what I want to do. It just doesn't make any sense
True.
anymore, right? So, what are we going to do with our time? See, what happens is when you're working either in a business or in an organization, there is some sort of a structure that you have, right? You feel like you meaningfully contributing to a larger goal, which are organization's priorities, organization's goal. You being rewarded for that. You have a vibrant network of colleagues, relationships. Now, suddenly at one fine point, now you retire and all of that goes away.
Yeah.
In fact, there was a great ad that when I was talking to the sales head of HDFC AMC, he actually shared that ad with me. He didn't show me, but he talked about it. And it was like one person. They've shown that one person, he gets ready, gets on the bus and then starts going towards his office, right? And he gets a call from his wife on the way to work, and he's like, he's getting a little irritated. He's like, I'm on my way to the office, why is my wife calling me? He keeps getting those calls, so finally he gets off the bus, he picks up the phone, he's irritated, he says, why are you calling me again and again? And the wife tells him that, well, you retired yesterday, right? So that is the challenge, that how do we fill that void? I mean, if you think about a week, we've got about 7 days in a week, 24 hours per day. That's 168 hours.
Yes.
And there are 52 weeks in a year. What are we going to do with all of those times, all of that time?
Right.
So that is the biggest non-financial challenge that everyone needs to grapple with. Everyone needs to figure out. Priyanka, we spend more time in planning and thinking about a 2 week vacation than a 40 years of our retirement,
That
unfortunately,
is actually very true.
right?
Yeah.
So, and then there are associated challenges about that. How am I going to meaningfully contribute to my life? And I'll talk about, some of those things further down the line. But that is one big non-financial challenge. Financial challenge, obviously, it's about, there are two primary questions that people have. Am I going to outlast my wealth or my money? Right? I don't want to be in that position, number one. Number two, am I going to be able to afford the lifestyle that I want to live?
Or at least maintain the lifestyle that I'm currently living.
Exactly, or at least maintain the lifestyle. If I have to do some compromises, are they within my tolerance level? Right?
Yes.
Those are the financial challenges, and people are not prepared even from a financial standpoint. If you look at some of the surveys that are out there, 7 out of 10 people are not prepared. They don't have enough money. They don't even know what enough is for them, right?
Exactly.
So as far as the second part of your question goes, that what should they be doing? We will actually cover that aspect when I talk about the financial planning framework
Mhm.
for pre-retirees and retirees. But these are some of the big challenges.
Okay. So my next question is, what is the process to plan a retirement? What is the process to plan a financially secure retirement, or
Yeah.
towards your financial freedom in your retirement?
Correct, correct. I think that's a great question, and I like the way you frame the question. You're talking about process. It is actually a process. It's not just a plan. It is a process of getting to that plan that is important. This is where I would introduce the concept of return on life, Priyanka, because as far as the finance is concerned, the question that is on people's minds as far as retirement is concerned, am I going to have enough money? Am I
Yeah.
going to outlast my money, or is my money going to outlast me? That's the starting point for this thing.
Hmm.
While that question is important, that is only a part of the story. Right? The question that we should be asking ourselves is that what does having enough money truly mean to me? How is my money going to meaningfully contribute to the life that I want to live? And
Yeah.
unfortunately, that question or that thinking doesn't happen. So, as far as the process is concerned, that is step number one, right? And this is what I term as, see, we are so used to looking at our portfolios. We're so used to looking at the market, and saying, oh, my portfolio has given me X% returns. So that's the return on investment sort of
Hmm.
mentality. Switching from there to return on life, right? That is step number one. That these are those two questions that I articulated. And so how do we sort of summarize return on life, what that means, right? And this is where the discussion needs to happen between an investor or a retiree or a pre-retiree and a financial advisor or a financial coach, whoever you call it.
Hmm.
So broadly, return on life can be defined in three broad buckets. One is, well, people have a sense of well-being, right? They know that the life that they're living is adding to their well-being. And how do you define well-being? So, for example, having a safe home where you want to live, right? Or having great relationships, which you want to actually inculcate, having security, financial as well as non-financial. All of these contribute to well-being.
Hmm.
The second bucket is progress. People want to make progress in life by learning new things, by adopting new skills. So that is the second bucket that people need to think through. And the third bucket is freedom, sense of freedom. I can do whatever I want with my time. I don't have to think four times before going and getting that expensive meal, right? So when you start thinking about these things as a part of the planning process, these three things evolve into certain goals that you want to achieve. And then money needs to come in to achieve those goals, help investor achieve those goals. So that is at a high level, the financial planning process. It's called financial life planning
Okay.
process that needs to happen.
All right. Um, so I was about to ask you that what are the stages of retirement planning, but you have answered it very clearly. So there are three buckets, as I can remember. So if I ask you,
But Priyanka, just one thing. So stages and
oh,
buckets
they
are
can be
the
different.
they can be different, right?
Okay,
So,
okay,
yeah, buckets are the financial planning segments
okay.
that are life planning segments.
So they may be pillars in the financial.
Exactly. Exactly right. Spot on. So stages it's a very interesting question, actually.
Okay,
Even stages need to be thought through in non-financial terms and financial terms.
okay,
Based on a lot of research that has happened, a typical retiree or a pre-retiree goes through five stages as far as the non-finance is concerned. First one is the pre-retirement stage, where 3 years before retirement, people start thinking about it, right? What do I want to do? That's the pre-retirement phase. The second stage is something called retirement honeymoon, where everyone's really happy. I've got full freedom. I've got a lot of time. I can do whatever I want, right? So
yeah.
retirement honeymoon period, it doesn't last that long
Hmm.
because after a point, let's say 2 years, 3 years, I mean, how much travel can you do? How
Exactly.
much
You,
mingling?
I
So
mean, by time you also get exhausted by that as
exhausted.
well.
Exactly, exactly. So that stage switches into something called disenchantment. So
Okay.
people realize that there is something missing in my life, right? That structure that I had, that's
Hmm.
missing. I don't know
Breaking
what
away from
I'm
the cycle.
exactly. I don't know what I'm going to do with my time. So then there is introspection, then there is sort of reorientation. Then people start thinking about the purpose. People start thinking about how they want to utilize their time. And then finally, stage number five is reconciliation, and stability. Right? So typically a retiree, not everyone's going to go through this, right?
Mm.
But typically people go through that. And hence, the more thinking that you can do in the pre-retirement stage, the easier the rest of the journey is concerned.
Right.
So those are like the non-financial stages. It is very interesting. The financial stages are slightly different. So there is a researcher called, his name is David Blanchett. He's a
Mm.
US researcher. He's done a lot of research into the financial stages of retirees. And first 70, let's say if they retire at 60, 60 to let's say 70, 75, it's termed as the go-go years, where people are vibrant, people have a lot of money, a lot of energy. So people travel a lot, they hang out with their friends, families, they go out. There's a lot of very intense social life that they have. So discretionary expenses are very high, right?
Mm.
So from go-go years, as you start moving towards 70, 72, 75, between 70 and 80, you're not as energetic as you were, right? So that's called the slow go years. And
Okay.
in terms of the changes in the expenses, what happens is that your discretionary expenses, your travel and all, it starts creeping down, right? But at the same time, you're still healthy. So your medical expenses are still under control. So your total expenses go down, and then finally, as you start crossing 80, that's when the medical expenses start creeping up. That's when assisted living type of expenses go up. So the expenses go up again. So it's like high in go-go years, slow go, and no go. So it's called a retirement spending smile. If you look at this, it's a smile.
Yeah, it's a curve
It's a
actually.
curve.
Yeah.
So those are the stages, financial stages that people typically go through.
Okay, okay. So what are the greatest financial threats facing the retirees? Maybe inflation or longevity risks
Yes.
or healthcare expenses. We have
Yes.
talked about healthcare expenses and the curve as well.
Correct. You are absolutely right. Inflation, longevity, are those risks. But I also think about risks in terms of goals, or in terms of what you want your money to do for you, right?
Hmm.
And if your money is not able to do those things for you, then that's a risk.
Yeah.
And then inflation, and I'll talk about it slightly differently. So any retiree, if you distill down the goals, the
Hmm.
specific goals in terms of the lifestyle that they want, it comes down to finally four broad buckets, and it's called the four L's of retirement. L letter.
Okay.
The first L is something called longevity, as you rightfully said, right? People are living longer.
Hmm.
So people need to have enough money to be able to sustain their essential needs for as
Hmm.
long as they live. So let's say if they retire at 60, till 90, the financial plan has to make sure that their essential needs can be covered. So that's
Hmm.
one. Longevity as a goal, it can also be a risk if not done properly.
Right.
The second goal is obviously lifestyle that we talked about. Is my money going to give me the lifestyle that I want? That is a goal. So financial planning has to make sure that their lifestyle, which is discretionary, on top of the essential basic needs, that
Hmm.
is met, and that's also a risk. Third one is liquidity, right? The third L of retirement. If something unexpected comes up, health issue or something else, do I have enough liquidity to be able to take care of it? So that's a goal as well as a potential risk. And the fourth one is legacy. It's not so much as a risk, but if you want to give your money to your children, or if you want to give your money to charity, do I have that? Is that a part of the financial plan? So these are the four L's, as we say, of retirement. And across these four L's, Priyanka, then there is inflation, as you said rightfully. Inflation is a huge risk. People have problems in sort of anticipating the impact of inflation 20 years from now, 10 years from now. People always underestimate that, right? So that is the biggest risk, inflation. And the what happens is the risks, this manifests into, you may have seen people who are like about to retire who say, look, my income is now not going to be there, so I want my money to be safe.
Hmm.
And safe is what? Fixed deposit or
Bank
bank
deposit.
account, right? We
Exactly.
don't realize, because every time we log into our bank account, we see the same amount of money. So there is this false sense of security, but it's not keeping pace with inflation.
Exactly.
So you're not taking care of inflation as a risk. The second risk is a slightly complex financial risk. which is called sequence of returns.
Mm.
So let's say if you have a portfolio as a retiree and you want to tap into that portfolio to fund your lifestyle. Now, if the portfolio is linked to the market instruments, right? Um, if the market does well, you are great. So your portfolio keeps on increasing even after you tapping into it because the market is boosting it. If the market doesn't do well, then it's a double whammy. That your portfolio is reducing, you're also dipping into it. So
Yeah,
there are ways of dealing with this risk also. But primarily, as someone who's about to retire, Priyanka, I think they need to be clear about what is inflation, what is volatility in the market, and what is capital loss. People are afraid that, oh, the market's volatility is, people think that I'm going to lose my money. No, it's a temporary phenomenon. So
exactly.
that clarity around risk is extremely important.
So, is there any way that we can get, we can get an idea of what margin of inflation we need to take care about in
Yeah.
order to, get an idea of our ideal retirement
Of
corpus?
course, of course. I think first of all, the planning for retirement, the earlier you start, the
Hmm.
better it is, right? Because there are two phases. One is that while you're earning, you are accumulating wealth for retirement.
Hmm.
And when you actually stop working, then you're distributing that wealth. So the
Yes,
sooner you start, the better. We feel like, I think the more conservative assumptions that you make, the better it is for you, right? So assume an inflation of about 7% in your planning.
hmm,
Assume a rate of the growth that the market is going to give you is 12%.
hmm,
Now, if the inflation is lower, if the market gives you more than 12%, it's great. But
right.
you planned in a conservative manner so that you've already taken care of some of the risks from
Hmm,
these unknown variables. Uh,
hmm. Okay, um, my last question. So my next question is, are there any vital elements of a happy retirement?
Yeah, I mean, I will again go back to Priyanka, what I said, that you have to think about not just whether you have enough money,
Hmm.
but what is your money going to do for you?
Okay.
That is the starting point, right? And there is a lot of research that has gone into it that a happy retirement
Hmm,
is centered on three or four aspects. One is you need to have purpose or a vision as to what you're going to do, how you're going to meaningfully contribute. And the research has shown that when you have purpose, which is bigger than you,
hmm,
you're happier. That's just the way it is. That's the first one. You need to have that as a starting point. The second one is, sorry, the second one is relationships. Now, there is a Harvard study that has taken place over the last 100 odd years. Harvard researchers have
hmm,
tracked set of individuals over their lifespan, right? And those set of individuals came from different backgrounds. Some of them came from very poor backgrounds. Some of them came from affluent backgrounds. Over 100 years, through surveys, through discussions with them, they realized that the single biggest determinant of happiness is the relationships that you have. Relationships with your spouse, relationship with your partners, your family, your community. So that is the second most important thing. And what happens is when you retire, there is a risk of you losing on some of these relationships. So purpose, relationships, and third one obviously is health. Right? You need to have the right health. And money then needs to make sure that you are able to do all these three things.
right. So
That
money is
is
kind of the umbrella term here.
umbrella term. Money is a facilitator. Money is facilitating your pursuit of your vision or purpose. Money is making sure that you're living healthy, right? And money is making sure that you are able to enhance and nurture your relationships. That's, I feel, the secret of happy retirement.
That is very true, sir. So I am a young person and this is my first job. And there are so many young professionals like me who might not have the very perfect idea of retirement, but they have started planning for their retirement. So what are the basic questions one should ask themselves as a young professional who have just started planning their retirement?
Correct, correct. I think the most important question is, are you saving money?
Okay.
The most important question, the basic question.
Hmm.
And how are you saving money? I speak with a lot of individuals, Priyanka, of your age group. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people who say that, look, I'm not earning enough money to be able to save, right? And especially in a city like Bombay, it's hard.
Hmm.
But there is a way to still save money. even if you're not able to save, let's say 10,000 rupees, can you save 500 rupees?
Yes.
So the most important thing for a young professional is to set aside certain money. And how do you set aside? See, when you bank your salary hits your bank account, right? First thing most people typically do, not just youngsters, but everyone else also, that they start taking that money out towards expenses, rent, electricity, and then whatever is left at the end of the month, they say that's my saving. So
Hmm.
sometimes you end up saving money, sometimes you don't end up saving money. We have to switch this. So as a young person, you have to first say that 500 rupees, for example, out of this is the saving or the spend I'm making on my future self. So take that 500 first. You don't have access to those 500 rupees right now.
Hmm.
Make sure that your spend is taken care of in the rest. So the only important thing is saving, right? The second important thing is that access equity. See, Indian economy is only going to grow over the next 10 years, 20 years. There is a lot of upside. And the best way to participate in the India growth story is through equity. So invest in choicest mutual funds, right? And then just let the time take its own course. Live your life, spend guilt free. As long as you've got these two things done, whatever money that's left with, just spend it guilt free on whatever you want to do. That's the advice I give youngsters.
I have all the questions that I wanted to ask you. And thank you so much, sir, for your valuable inputs on this. And I hope my questions were somehow logical
Of
in
course.
senses. So this is where we would like to conclude the session. And I would again um, thank Girish Ajgaonkar, sir, the CEO of the Happiness Factory. So thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, Priyanka, and thank you so much, the Outlook Group, for giving me this opportunity. Your questions were spot on, Priyanka.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity, because I think there is a lot of work that needs to happen in this space, and companies such as yourself can be that channel to actually spread the awareness. So thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.